All right, what's going on in the world today, I wonder? Man, I'm craving, I know it sounds stupid, but I'm seriously craving, I'm craving hunting and I'm craving steelhead fishing. I don't know why, I just am. Shared that with Sarah and I just got a sourpuss look back at me, but whatever, can't help it. It's just how I'm built inside. Same as a lot of you out there listening to this today. Throat might sound kind of off because I picked up some kind of bug a few days ago. It's slowly creeping up on me in my throat. Don't know why. No virus, no fever, so that's all good. Now, quick thing too. I'm looking for someone who is a professional at building a website. Looking for help, all right? I'm not looking for a freebie. I'm not looking for a deal. I'm a firm believer and everybody's got to pay their way. And I've charged in my past for my skills and I am very willing to pay for yours. So I'll talk more about that at the end of this video. Okay, guys? So anybody out there who is a professional at building websites, WordPress site, I got a message for you at the end of this. All right? Now, what's going on? I have a handful of screenshots in my phone, I think. Again. All right, I'm gonna get some of these screenshots of comments shared then out of my album here. All right. Now here's one from the viewer's name handle is you better wake up 2449 commented with this. It looks like I was unsubbed again. Recently had a good chat with a nephew, and he started to share some things he's experienced in the past year. He said one night he went outside to smoke and a huge bipedal creature with the face of a wolf came barreling out of the forest straight at him. He said it hit him in the chest hard enough to knock him down and then it disappeared. Okay, now that is frickin' red flag alarming. Now, he's ex-military, a no-nonsense kind of guy that never showed a hint of fear in the past. But he was very visibly shaken. And his entire demeanor had changed since I last saw him. It apparently stressed him out for quite a while. As he lost a lot of weight and said he can hardly sleep anymore. Holy shit, no doubt. That was January 3rd. Listen, if you're still hanging out here on the channel, could you please maybe do me a small favor? Send him one of our videos. Let him know that this isn't a frickin' shit nest of idiots looking for attention. And to maybe possibly get a hold of me and share with me what happened. And not only with that might help somebody else, it might help him as well, all right? Try chucking him one of our videos, all right? Now, where's another one? Don't tell me I went the wrong way on my album. Okay, scrolling back down. What's this one? Here's another screenshot, or I don't know what this is. It's not quite a screenshot, but it's at the top. It says Story 5 Good Friends account. Two good friends of mine, both brothers, Nick and Darcy, told me their account. This took place in the Fraser Valley about 20 years ago or so. They were in their early teens while walking through the neighbor's field at night past their koi pond. They had noticed someone crouched next to a tree. It stood up, revealing half of its body, forearm and shoulder was just massive, hair covered. And because of the darkness, the being was basically just silhouetted. They said that its eyes glowed red, like 9 feet up. That's how tall it was. Gasping, they ran home and told their mom, and she basically said, "What have you guys been drinking or smoking?" Yeah, well, sad but calm response. And there you go, Fraser Valley near my home in British Columbia. Oh, recent too, I had a shout out to a man, I forget your name, I'm sorry, ran into a guy we met at, where did we meet him? At the Tsawwassen Mall, where Bass Pro is, on our way to the airport. We went in there to look around and a guy came up and he was also lived in the Fraser Valley and he had an encounter as well. Not far off the valley floor, I don't think. What else? Hold on a second. Here's another screenshot that I took somewhere along my travels. I think I took this screenshot on December 4th. And it was a headliner. NIH Health Data Chief admits COVID vaccines are behind global surge in sudden deaths. The global surge in heart attacks is caused by COVID mRNA vaccines, according to Raha Cholan, chief of the Health Data Standards Branch at the U.S. National Library of Medicine for the National Institutes of Health. There you go. In your face. How long would it take for me to get deleted just for saying that on YouTube in the past, right? How many of those people are still free, walking around, that have caused all that human pain, life, loss, suffering, and should be hung? Now, moving along. I'm cleaning up my phone here, obviously. What's this? Nope. Hold on a minute. Okay, here's another screenshot from January 10th, a comment on our channel by the Man of Stone Zachary-O/2CK is the commenter. I heard a story exactly like the one about the deer that happened here in Manitoba, Canada. An ex-girlfriend of mine had a friend whose job it was to clean up roadkill, and he found a deer on the side of the road that was perfectly sliced in half down the middle, but both sides of the deer were there. They were totally stumped as to how it happened, and the only thing they were able to think of was that maybe a semi drove by with a loose cable that somehow sliced it perfectly in half down the middle. I never heard of any mention of whether there was blood present or not. And there was the comment. There you go. And that's a recent one. Remember, the people said they found half a deer laying there? No blood? Straight down the middle, perfect? A little nasty. And here's another screenshot, last one for today. Screenshot, that is. Screenshot share. This is from David Marks, a viewer of the channel. Maybe you will see this, or maybe not. My guess is you won't, if they monitor comments on here. I live in Colorado, and I have several friends that are state troopers and other law enforcement officers. Also a few park rangers, and they've all told me in confidence that they are told to try to avoid having to report any of these encounters with people that say they have seen or had an accident encounter with one of these so-called beings. One of my trooper friends told me about an accident that he was called out on when he was patrolling a section of I-70 where a semi had hit one of these things, according to the driver of the rig, and he was told to tell the man it must have been an elk because of the amount of damage that was done to the truck. But there is no carcass, just a lot of blood and hair all over the front of the wrecked semi. Nobody to be found. But he said the driver kept insisting that what he hit walked out in front of him and was eye to eye with his windshield looking right at him when he hit it. Not an elk, but something huge standing on two legs and not four. And there you go. And we are all absolutely familiar with the fact that the law does what they can to keep us in the dark. Period. It's kind of sad these days, right? This time and day and age when the majority of the law isn't there to protect us, or there to protect the people who have the money. Prove me wrong. Now, face to face with the Sasquatch, less than 3 feet is the title of this email. Hi Steve, you must receive more stories than you can handle. Just wanted to share my story of how close I've been to two of these creatures. I'm now 67. When I was around 10, in the early 60s, my uncle asked me if I wanted to see the bears feed. I was living in Toronto, Ontario, Canada at the time, and I was always the one who wanted to be in nature and see how it works. So I was already dragged around by my uncles in the outdoors. They were hunters and passing the tradition on. Sounds like good men to me. I'm not sure where we went, other than my uncle told me that they found a spot where the bears descend into this valley, and we might be able to spot a few moving around. You have to picture in your mind cars that were big and tall in the early 60s compared to today's cars, so you can reference the size. We sat in the car looking into this valley for bears, or actually any wildlife that may show up. My uncle spotted 2 bears in his rearview mirror and told me to sit still. We both had our windows open. It was summertime. These 2 creatures walked right by us on each side of the car. They were so close to the car I could have reached out the window and touched the fur with no problem. What caught my eyes was how tall their crotches were. Remember how big those cars were then? Their crotches were as high as the top of the window. I knew how big bears are, especially black bears, and this triggered me to think this is not a bear. They both stopped in front of the car and turned around, leaned on the hood of the car, and they both looked inside at us. I'll always remember this. It is etched forever. We're in the front seat, and their faces couldn't be any further than a few inches from the windshield. We both had no fear, just amazed at what we were seeing. We looked at each other, eye to eye. We looked at each other, eye to eye, the Sasquatch and us, for what seemed like a long time. The best I can describe is they had ape-like features for faces. Then they moved off and continued walking. My uncle looked at me and said, "I don't know what they were, but they certainly are not bears." We both said nothing when we went back home. Crazy. What is wrong with us humans? Why are we, so many of us, built that way? Slurping on a coffee here. Why do we do that? Clam up. Be quiet about it. It just freaks me out. It always will. Not until over 5 years later did I have an idea what I saw. I had a Ripley's Believe It or Not comic that talked about a Bigfoot instance in California at a construction site. I then knew it was possibly a Bigfoot. And years later, I saw the Patterson-Gimlin movie, and then I knew for sure I'd seen an encounter. I knew for sure I had a Sasquatch encounter. And 2 things stand out in my mind. I don't remember the stench many talk about when they have an encounter. I don't know why, but I don't have a smell associated with the encounter. That's okay, because not everybody does. So that's all right. Second, with all the sightings, I've always asked myself, why is the information hidden or debunked all the time? Till one day, I heard an explanation that made sense. If it is proven they exist, a whole forest industry may be in jeopardy if it came out these creatures exist. Makes sense to me, considering how an owl prevented wood harvesting to happen because it may ruin the habitat. Anyways, I wanted to share my encounter. Only these past few years I've even told anyone about it. Sorry, I screwed that sentence up. Anyways, I wanted to share my encounter. Only these past few years I've told anyone about it. My uncle is long gone now, but we smiled together and winked to each other every time we mentioned about seeing the bears. Anyways, just want to share my experience. They do exist. Can't get any closer of a couple feet face to face. There you go. There you go. Welcome to the club. That would be a little unnerving, right? Stuck in the vehicle. Stuck in the vehicle, face to face. No thanks. Overloaded nerves. It's the title of this next email. Hi, Steve. Love your videos, your stories, your input, and the backdrops. You should make a calendar of them and your personalized How to Hunt fleeced camo beanie hat to sell and support your expenses. My name is Victor Maldonado. I'm a newly retired 20-year New York City corrections officer and proud hunter. My encounter started when I was bow hunting in October 2017 at approximately 3 a.m. while hiking into the Sterling Forest State Park in Orange County, New York. As I hiked up a trail that I normally use while using a red light headlamp to illuminate the trail, I reached approximately 150 yards into the forest when all of a sudden my entire body, hair, turned to nails, and a piercing, high-toned, sharp beep rang in my ears, causing all my nerves in my body to go haywire, like if I was just electrocuted, and stopped me dead in my tracks, causing me to freeze in a paralyzing state that I couldn't move, breathe, or listen. When I focused on my body's reaction, I started to tell myself to calm down, you're okay, repeatedly in my mind, because I didn't see any potential threat in front of me. I was then able to catch my breath and try to bring my heart down, and tried to bring down my heart that was beating like if I ran a marathon. I then grabbed my flashlight and bear spray and switched my headlamp light to LED, bright white, and proceeded to walk backwards on the trail, facing forward for approximately 60 yards, and listened and didn't hear anything whatsoever in the forest. I then loaded my bow with 2 arrows, and I stood in the ready position for approximately 1 hour and 30 minutes to launch a defense, only to hear something walking away slowly, cracking the dried leaves, and it sounded bipedal like a heavy person walking away. As it walked away, I listened until it was far enough that I could hear it fade away, and hauled back to my truck and departed the area forthwith, and didn't return until the rifle season opened up in November 18. It's so true when you say to other people what happened, and they look at you like if you were hallucinating or didn't drink your coffee yet and dismiss it. Steve, stay safe and well, and thank you for your service, Vic. Vic, I will, and you too, my man. Appreciate the kind words. And this is definitely a place where we all teach each other to not give a flying shit what people think. The second you stop worrying about what people think is when you become a free human being. Try to get to that point in life before it's too late, all right, guys? Try to. Something shadowing us on the trail is this next email. Hello. You can use our first names if you read this on your channel. My girlfriend Mandy has a 4-year-old daughter named Catherine. I've been with her since she found out she was pregnant with her, so I am a father figure to her. However, it's congenial with her biological dad, and we co-parent pretty well. Good for you, man. I'm a lifelong outdoorsman, and I'm now 47. I grew up hunting, fishing, and generally exploring by road and trail remote areas. Mandy, on the other hand, is a self-proclaimed city girl, so I've been introducing her to the backcountry, and she has really enjoyed it for the most part. We live on the Olympic Peninsula in Washington. So we have the last couple summers been hiking into the wilderness areas bordering Olympic National Park, where Catherine is with her father. We have taken the kid on a few day hikes on easy lowland trails to start getting her used to the idea in preparation for when her mother feels when she is ready for remote trails. The beginning of June this year, we picked a trail near Carbonado, Washington, that leads to a ghost town and abandoned mine along an old railroad line. This is near Mount Rainier National Park. The trail is just outside of town and runs between a busy highway and the river. It's fairly well used, but not ridiculously busy like some other trails close to civilization. Perfect place to take a 4-year-old, or so we thought. We get to one end of the lock gates that leads to the trail later in the day. Then punctuation's a little challenging. I'll start again. We get to one of the locked gates that leads to the trail later in the day than we would have liked. It was sprinkling out at this point. We were discussing canceling the whole plan, but decided to press on. And soon as we park, I'm apprehensive, and can tell Mandy is as well, but there is a family packing up after finishing their hike, and they're all smiles. And Catherine is excited to see the ghost town and would have been disappointed if we headed home. I always carry a sidearm in the backcountry, but not always on more popular hikes. And at first, I leave my pistol locked in the center console, but go back and get it because it starts to bother me that I don't have it. I strap it on and check it 3 times to make sure it's loaded, and I can reach it easily. This isn't like me, as I'm very comfortable carrying a firearm, and Mandy even asked me what I'm doing. Yeah, well, you know what? You're going with your gut. I don't give a shit what anybody says. You go with your gut. Excuse me, just having a slurp of coffee. And you know what? And I go with my gut above all. If there's some kind of stupid law, I don't give a shit. When it comes to safety of myself or who we care about, there's no rules. We get down to the trail proper, and I hate being there. It's just not right somehow. We get down to the trail proper. Probably typo. And I hate being there. It's just not right somehow. I want to scrap the idea still, and so does Mandy. I would later find out. And after what feels like 4 hours, but it's 15 minutes according to my watch, we still have seen none of the remnants of the town or mining operation we came to see. We later found out they're mostly overgrown and invisible except in the late fall. Catherine is walking 10 feet in front of us, skipping along and happy as all can be. And what I'm guessing was an owl, lets out a whoop and scares me and Mandy to death as we are both on edge for some reason. And Mandy yells for Catherine to get back to her and hold her hand. But you need to know we have been hiking in the backcountry just the weekend before, 7 miles and completely alone, and Mandy had not a care in the world. And later I'd ask myself why that owl whooped like that in broad daylight. Did something startle it from its slumber? Or was it an owl? The highway is just above us and the river is below us, and I swear I heard something moving around below us. And I keep thinking I hear something paralleling us, but when a car goes by, it seems like that's when it moves. This is starting to grate on me, but thinking any minute we will find something to show the child so she can see a ghost town, and I can blame the weather, fading light, and announce we're heading back. And after what seems like an eternity, we finally view an old trestle that we're going to pass under, and we can see it. And the noises are louder in the brush below the trail. And Mandy looks at me and says, "We need to get out of here now," and turns around to head down the trail. I swoop Catherine up and we take off, literally jogging back the way we came, with Mandy leading the way. There's still noise coming from below the trail, but it's hard to hear, as it still feels like it's only moving when a car goes by covering the noise. We ride back to our vehicle after a very nerve-wracking journey, and I suggest at one point we walk along the highway, but there's no shoulder really, and with the kid it seems too dangerous. I suggest at another point Catherine and Mandy wait beside the highway for me, and I run back to get the vehicle. Uh-oh, that's the beginning of our classic horror movie move right there. Sorry, just had a slurp of coffee. Mandy firmly shuts that idea down. Thank God. What was I even thinking? There you go. Another time, and maybe she was just being Another time, and maybe she was just being but Catherine asks if we can take a side trail down to the river, which we both respond with a not just no, but a heck no. A lot more happened on this short 3-mile round-trip hike, and it was the longest 3 miles of my life, including packing elk out in some pretty rough country. No definitive proof of anything, but I will say we have hiked, and I've been on solo backcountry hunts no definitive proof of anything, but I will say we have hiked, and I've been on a solo backcountry hunt since, and all was normal. We drove away, went got ice cream, and had an uneventful drive home. And that night we discussed the day's events, and although we didn't talk a lot during the ordeal, as we were focused on not scaring Catherine, we both shared the same feelings and general unfounded fear through the whole thing. And also I will add, even though I had my Glock locked and loaded on my hip, I'm pretty proficient with it. I never felt like it would have been enough to deal with what we were experiencing. Thanks for taking the time to read this. Wow. Okay, man, I got you. Too many people here that think they're here to get entertained. It probably doesn't sound overly exciting, and that doesn't matter because that's not the point of writing in. And like I try to point out to people, when somebody writes in just about a sound or a feeling, you got to think about how much of an impact it must have been to knee-jerk somebody to email someone. Right? It's something else. So with what went down in the proximity, we'll see if that resonates with anyone else listening today or whatever day you come across this video. Appreciate that email, man. Be safe out there and keep me updated if you get any some great knowledge, new knowledge for the people you want to share one day. Send it in. Excuse me. Man, my throat. I know what's going on in there. This experience changed my perspective on the woods. Hi, Steve. My name is... All right. Oh, I'm allowed to use it. Okay. My name is Tyler Woods. I'm from San Angelo, Texas. You can use my name if you'd like. My experience happened in Texas on the Red River in the Palo Dora Canyon. Me and 3 other buddies were up there camping and hunting whitetail and Odad. We were camping near the riverbank at a campsite we had camped at a handful of times over the years, and this is back in 2015. In late September, a little after sundown, but down in the canyon, the sun sets past the lip of the canyon, which makes everything dark on the ground. But the sky was still lit with that grayish and purplish sky we all know at dusk. We're all bullshitting around the fire when in the distance, you could hear the footfall of a creature coming toward us. And on the rock/shale and water, you could clearly hear this is a 2-legged creature. The footsteps were very clear in a quiet night, loud enough that we all could hear them and tell whatever it was walking toward us. Once these steps were uncomfortably close, it all seemed odd that if it were another human, why would it announce itself by saying hello or hey guys, don't mean to startle y'all. For whatever reason, as the steps got closer, the woods and canyon fell absolutely silent, like all the small critters knew they weren't to make a sound. This is what initially struck fear in my bones. I know that the woods don't go silent at that time of day, and to this day have never heard that type of silence in the outdoors ever again. Whatever this was, walked to a point just outside the firelight and stopped. I felt every hair in my body stand up, and the fear that set into us all was something I can't explain. All my senses were heightened, and every fiber in my body was telling me we needed to get the F out of there. Then the thing began to circle us slowly, again just outside the firelight, no more than 20 yards away. We couldn't smell the thing until it must have gotten downwind of us, because the smell that hit us was something I've never smelled before. It was a putrid smell, like the smell of death, mixed with a wet dog. This thing circled us for what seemed like 30 minutes, but I'm sure it was only a few minutes. It never acted out in aggression, but I think it knew that we were no match for it. As quickly as this ordeal started, it ended, and the creature returned in the direction it came from. And once it left, the critters came back, and the normal sound of an early fall, late summer night in the canyon came back. None of us were sure what it was that walks up on us that night. None of us were sure what it was that walked up on us that night. It wasn't until later that we learned about the similarities of what we all experienced and other Bigfoot/Sasquatch encounters, and then it made perfectly clear sense, and I knew what we all experienced. We never camped back by the river in the canyon, and 2 of them haven't been hunting and camping ever since. I, on the other hand, can't imagine a life without hunting and camping and being in the outdoors. But I would never go looking for this creature that walked up on us that night. And to this day, every now and then near dusk while hunting, I think about that night, and I will still get goosebumps. We never talked about that night to anyone besides the 4 of us that were there that night. Sorry for the long-winded email. I love your channel. I love seeing someone so passionate about hunting in the outdoors like you do. Feel free to share my story if you'd like. Happy hunting. Yeah, happy hunting to you too, man. I'm super stoked that you still go out there. And I got a funny feeling you think about it every time you go hunting. Just like I do. Not every now and then. You know what? I would put money on it. You think about it every time. We all do. You can't not. It's such a huge impact. And then, what happened to these guys has happened to how many people here now? How many? Dozens. Right? Dozens. Armed, unarmed, doesn't matter. 1 person, 2 person, 6 people, doesn't matter. For some unknown reason, these people seem to have absolute confidence, being all by themselves and sneaking up to a group of humans or a couple humans sitting around a fire with guns. They got no problem doing that. Sneak right up with absolute confidence, solo. But then when that same being has eyeballs from humans on it, it runs like it's seen frickin' T-Rex in their hallway of their house. Terrified. Or is it terrified? Terrified of what? Can't be terrified of us. You know what I mean? What's going on? What do they know about our gaze that we don't? What do they know about our eyes that we don't, or we used to possibly? Maybe. That's the part that really confuses me on my ride. I just don't understand it. You know what I mean? I mean, if you've got the confidence to sneak in the dark all by yourself and see those beings in the distance with their firelight, and you got the confidence to sneak right up on top of those dudes, no matter how many they are, no matter how well they're armed, and you got that confidence. But then you'll be peeking out from behind a tree 100 yards away and a human locks eyes on you and you act like it's the worst thing that possibly has ever happened to you in your lifetime, and you turn around and go faster than anybody's ever seen anything move before to get away from that human looking at you. Why does that not make sense? Hey? Man, I'll bet you if we could know the answer to that, that would solve so much, wouldn't it? If we knew why they looked at us with terror once they realized we are looking at them and can't get away from us fast enough. And like I said before, picture this one. Picture yourself. You're in the woods. You're all by yourself. It's pitch frickin' black. Oh, look. There's not even, I don't give a shit. There's 1, 2, 3, 10 foot to 14 foot tall, I don't know, 500 to 700 pound being sitting around a campfire, being that human all by yourself in the forest. I think I'm going to go sneak up to those guys as close as I can. I'm going to make noise while I walk too. Said no human ever. Right? Said no frickin' human ever. Why are they doing it? And why are they running in daylight? Huge question for me. Huge question for me. Who's next? Thanks for sending that email in, man. Really appreciate you sending that to me. Us. My experience for Steve is the title of this email. Hey Steve, I hope you're doing well. My name is Logan, and I am from a small town of Massey, Ontario. I live outside of town, and my neighbors are roughly 1 kilometer apart to give you an idea of the rural area I live in. It's mainly fields and bush all around. On Saturday, December 5th, 2020, I had an encounter with one of these beings. Me and my dad were going out to our camp to check the minnow traps we have in a creek beside our camp, as we enjoy ice fishing and minnows make great bait. This is sounding familiar. Hope I didn't just read this. Anyways, we left our house and we drove by our neighbor's house, and they weren't home as there were no cars or anything in their driveway. And as I looked out the window, I seen what I thought was a person, probably 350 yards away, walking near the edge of the field. I realized they were wearing completely black and were huge. To put it in perspective, I'm 6'5" and 250, and in no way a small guy. And my dad's 5'10" and 190, not a small guy either. When we deer hunt together, he walks out to his, and I walk through the bush to my stand. And as I walk, I can see him. And from 350 yards, he looks absolutely tiny compared to how big this thing was from that distance. I estimate it was at least 10 feet tall and at least 3.5 feet shoulder to shoulder. I've watched your channel for 2+ years and always been interested in this topic and never thought I would see one of these beings. Anyways, I'll update you if I have any further encounters with one of these beings. P.S. Keep doing what you're doing, Steve. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. You're a good, hard-working, honest guy. And so are you, man. Appreciate that. Appreciate your honesty and generosity. Sharing that email with us. And welcome to the club, right? Make sure you speak openly on this topic, man, with your circle of hunters where you are, right? Make sure you always do, no matter what. No matter what. Some asshole wants to laugh, send him my way. Send him my way via one of my videos, all right? Please. All right, here's another one. This is titled NY. Capitals, capital letters. NY. New York? NY. Steve, appreciate all you do, seeing through all the bullshit, not laying down to all the negative assholes who just like to tear people down to their experiences. I live in upstate New York, right on the Canadian border, about an hour or so from Montreal. My first experience was absolutely terrifying, which occurred in the fall of 2000. I was hiking with 3 others and looking to find a good place to find for a camp. We got off trail, and out of nowhere there was a flash, which was a game cam owned by DEC. Weird being where it was, but anyway, wasn't long after an extremely rotten, nasty odor came out of nowhere. So then we got our asses out of there. So we got back on a trail, but noticed crunching in the distance, and something began to follow us. Whatever it was intelligent. Not once did it come out in the open. It was smart enough to stay out of sight. I felt harassed. Whatever it was didn't want us there. So we continued up the trail, which was a horse trail, and went another 45 minutes and came across a bridge which was fairly open. We figured we'd get low and wait on the other side of the bridge, hoping to see what was following us. Again, was intelligent enough not to come into the open. So suddenly, out of nowhere, we're missing punctuation. So suddenly, out of nowhere, we heard something quietly coming out of the water. We could hear the water dripping off of it. My buddy, who was carrying a .357 revolver, emptied it into where the sound came from. That's kind of risky. So we waited, not hearing anything else. We continue up the trail. It wasn't long. This thing was still on us. There's the confidence thing again, right? So we got to the end of the trail, which opened up, So we got to the end of the trail, which opened up, and there were lean-to on other side of meadow. We ran and climbed from back of lean-to onto peak overlooking the meadow. Okay, I'm picking up what you're putting down. They ran to the back of it, climbed up on top of the lean-to, and peeked out overlooking the meadow. It was a full moon. Oh, it was nighttime too. So you could see the meadow really well. And after a few minutes, we heard this terrifying thrashing coming from in the tree line. Whatever it was had to be huge. It sounded like a herd of elephants thrashing around. It was obviously terrifying. Never had any of us ever experienced such a thing. It wasn't twigs being snapped. It was much larger, being busted up. Waited on the peak of that building after it went quiet, and that was it. It went silent and never bothered us again. But this thing absolutely would not come into the open. It was definitely aware and intelligent enough to stay out of sight. I definitely believe it to be Sasquatch. You be the judge. Doug from the Adirondacks. Appreciate it, Doug. Welcome to the club, man. You know what it was. You know what it was. All right, I'm going to read one more. And then I have an important message for someone out there listening at the end of this. All right, guys? And this may be, I don't think I read this one. Maybe, who knows, possibly. That's kind of a funny topic, too, if you know what my screw-ups in the past with managing all these emails when I lost 2,500 as not read yet. It's funny how people go out of their way to either comment, possibly the odd time they comment, when I've seen comments on the front of my damn phone, or even email me and say, hey man, you read that email before. Okay. So now what do you need for a reply to that? You know what I mean? Is it kind of funny that if I read an email that was read maybe 5 or 6 years ago, whatever, read before, and it actually knee-jerks somebody to let me know it was read before. Like seriously, when you do that, what do you expect for a correct reply to that notification you just sent us? You know what I mean? Shit's gonna happen sometimes, you guys. It's just the nature of the beast at this stage of the game. Tens of thousands of email. Hey dude, you read that one already? Okay, thanks, Karen. Moving along. Hello, Steve. My name, Jason. Feel free to use my name. I live in Northeast Indiana, and had something happen to me last weekend while bow hunting whitetails. I don't expect you to read this out loud on your channel because I didn't actually see or even hear anything. But I need to get this off my chest. I'm quite honestly hanging on by a thread here. I've tried sharing this with my parents, and they told me they're worried about my mental state. I guess in a way, so am I. I don't know where else to turn. My wife has been very supportive and encouraged me to reach out to you. You found your people, man. Even if I read this before, who gives a shit? This sounds like an important frickin' email for everybody here. I arrived in the dark at my stand on the 50-acre woods we own. I climbed into my 20-foot tree stand 19 minutes before sunrise and settled in for a quick nap like I've done hundreds of times before. I've been hunting since I was 16, and I'm 46 now. It was so cold I only dozed in and out slightly. And all of a sudden, I was hit with absolute, immediate, intense fear and panic. I can't even begin to describe this to you. It was debilitating and overwhelming. I felt like crying, screaming, running, and vomiting all at once. And not only was this feeling immediate, it was directional. And by that I mean it had a source of some kind. I could tell you where it was hitting me from, if that even makes sense. I had a hard time clearly making decisions. I stood up and began packing, then got my phone out to call for help, then put my stuff back in my pack, all while trying to stare into the darkness where I felt this coming from. And then it occurred to me that maybe whatever it was wanted me to get out of this tree stand to make me an easier target. I sat back down, drew my field knife, and began praying out loud. After what seemed like forever, the feeling started to subside somewhat. The woods was absolutely dead quiet from the time I got there until the time the sun came up. I've had 2 panic attacks in my life, and this was completely different. I could tell you exactly what triggered the first 2 panic attacks, and I could feel them coming on. This allowed me to process and handle them fairly quickly, and this is nothing like that. This came from outside of me and was completely uncontrollable. Is this something others have experienced? Is this common among Sasquatch? If they can do this, why do they? What's the point? Also, Indiana seems pretty sparse to house Sasquatch, but I have no other explanation for this. I've been contemplating giving up hunting altogether. I have 2 children that I take with me when the weather is warmer, and I'm concerned for their safety as well. But I'll be damned if I let my only passion be taken from me because of these things. However, I don't want to gamble with my life or those of my children. I don't even know how to process this. Let me know if you've heard of this before and what this could be. I have some ideas, but I'd like to hear from you and your followers. I haven't slept well at all in 3 days. Always grateful for what you do, Jason. I don't know. I don't have a older date on this. It's January 17th, 2025, so that's today. Is it today? It's today, yeah. Anyway, whatever. Who gives a shit when this was? The fact is, it happened. And a lot of people are probably going to start screaming, oh, it's infrasound. Elephants and lions do it. Well, that's fine. Everybody's going to take a guess at this, and all we can do is guess at it. From what I know, from what I've learned, do I think this is infrasound? Me? Nope. No, I don't. No, I don't. I believe this is a specific skill these beings and possibly others have and use to their benefit whenever they decide to. How? Don't know. Can you convince me it's infrasound? Never. What to do? Well, you think maybe possibly he was trying to screw you up enough so he could pounce on you. Not a chance. Like we've if we just use common sense, clear out the confusion and try to jump out of the bubble, meaning the bubble being your experience, and look in from outside the bubble in a calm, rational place, any predator that wants your ass is not going to pre-warn you, especially because you're a human. You probably get some sort of form of weapon on you. They're not going to warn you at all. They can easily sneak up on your ass without you knowing, or wait for you to come to them without knowing. They're just going to come and grab you. So I think I can confidently eliminate you being hunted intentionally. Messed with intentionally? For sure. Annoyed you were there? Obviously. Wants your attention to communicate with you? Not a chance. Wants you to get out of there, let them get back to snoozing or whatever they're doing? For sure. Is it the military trying out an experiment? Not a frickin' chance. They've got facilities to do all that testing. and the backyards of facilities. Why would they go to a public land? So, now what was the being? I don't know. Was it an upright, hairy, man-looking thing? Was it an upright, hairy, canine-looking human cross thing? Don't know. Can they both do it? Probably. Can other beings we're not familiar with do this too? Probably. Can we do it? I'll bet we used to be able to do it. Don't you think? I think there's a lot of shit we can probably do. And that's why the pricks that manipulate us and use us to die in wars, they don't need us getting back to our original skills, do they? So there you go. I'm super glad you emailed. I hope everything's still going well for you. And you know what? Just follow my lead, man. Use me as example. Keep going hunting no matter what. Teach your children that there's things going on out there, and teach them about the feelings you had so they know to recognize them themselves. And if they show you signs of having those skills, please, please, please try to encourage them to stay in tune with them and enhance them. You know? And there you go. More people heard today. Now, anybody out there in the tech world, I just had to be on. I do everything myself. I don't know why. I got such a hard time getting people to do shit for me. I know it works against me. I do everything. I fix my own vehicles. If I can't, I'll figure out how to do it. I do it anyway, and trial and error. My whole life's been trial and error. Majority of my life I've been by myself and only me to depend on, and never had a dime. So I've always fixed everything, figured that shit out for myself. And even when I was contracting, I worked on the job harder than anybody on the crew, no matter what. In reality, I should have just paid somebody else. You know what I mean? Hired more people, whatever. But it is what it is. So for me to do this is not normal. But I need somebody to build me a new website. It's time. I know what I want to do. I know what I want it to look like and function as. And I know the whole 9 yards. I just have to be honest with myself and to not try to go teach myself how to do it. I can do it on the Squarespace thing, but I understand that Squarespace isn't quite enough for what I'm after. And I looked at a website. I know exactly the website I want built, what I need it to do, and I just need somebody out there to build it for me. All right? I got the content. I gotta know what to put in it. I just need you to build it for me and make sure that I can add, remove, and edit the content. That's it. But anyway, we can talk about that later. So who do I need? I need you to email me if this is what you do professionally, okay? Professionally. I'm not looking for favors. I'm not looking for deals. I want to pay you for your skills that you took time of life to learn. And I want a good job done, and I need it as quick as I can. So if that means you, I would be more than excited to hear from you and have you create this living item with me, for me, all right? And then after that, I probably just need you to do the odd update, I guess, that I can't figure out, and I can take care of the content. And from there, after you give me the keys, and also what this is also going to do is going to make me have to get my ass in gear and get all of those frickin' emails out of my email and save somewhere safe, because I'm going to have to move my domain name from where it is. My domain, sorry, from where it is as well. Anyways, I'm babbling. So, title your email, website, build, whatever you want to call it. Get my attention. Email me at proguide66@howtohunt.com. And let's please get this ball rolling as soon as I can and get it done. And I can easily send you a website that I want it to be very, very similar to. And it's going to be, from what I understand, it has to be a WordPress website. All right? And if you are out of country, I don't know how to pay unless I can use my credit card, or if you got PayPal, then I can pay you if you're not in Canada, obviously. I don't give a shit what country you're in. As long as you can do a great job, do it on time, do it as quick as we can get it done, but very, very, has to be a very well-built website. Email me as soon as you can, or get somebody you know to email me, and we'll get the ball rolling. And you will be my website tech person forever until I drop. So there, I think that's about it. Lots of shit going on in the world today. What else? All you XRPers out there, when you gonna sell? You gonna sell? You gonna hold? What are you gonna do? Big news there for all you who know. What else? I think that's it for now. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll be checking my inbox. What time is it right now? It's actually noon here. I'm about to go to the gym, even though I don't feel so shit hot. Maybe I can sweat it out. But it is currently 10 to 10 p.m. North America time on the West Coast. 12:51 my time here on the other side of the planet. Share my story, howtohunt.com. That's not where you send me the heads up to build a website. That's where you send us your truth, your experiences, and your knowledge, all right? That's where you share it with all the people here. I'll be back later.